Every morning, Naples wakes up above a sleeping giant. This is a city of 3 million people. It sits by the sea, the sun rises over ancient streets, coffee shops open, church bells ring, children walk to school. But something is wrong. The ground is moving. Not much, just a little. But it moves every single day. People feel it when they sleep. A soft shake, a tremble under the bed. At first, they think it's a truck passing by or wind rattling the windows. But it's not wind, and it's not trucks. It's the earth breathing. Locals have a name for it. They call it il respiro della terra, the breath of the earth. For hundreds of years, the ground here has moved up and down, slowly, like lungs filling with air and letting it out. Scientists call it something else. They call it bradyseism. It means the land rises and falls because of what's happening deep underground. And what's underground? A volcano. Not just any volcano. One of the largest on Earth. Its name is Campi Flegrei, the fiery fields. It stretches for miles beneath the city, beneath homes, beneath churches, beneath schools and parks in the bay where fishermen cast their nets. Most volcanoes are mountains. You can see them. You can point and say, that's the danger. But Campi Flegrei is different. It's hidden. It's a caldera, a giant bowl in the ground. It doesn't look scary. It looks like a normal coastline. But below, 2 kilometers down, magma waits. And lately, something changed. In 2024, the tremors got stronger, not big earthquakes, just little shakes, but more of them, many more. One local woman named Maria said this. At first, it was small, just a vibration. I thought maybe I imagined it. Then, the glasses on my shelf began to shake every night. She stopped sleeping well, so did her neighbors. By early 2025, the shaking didn't stop. It kept going, every day, every night, sometimes 5 times in 1 hour. People started counting. In just 6 months, there were more than 1,000 tremors. 1,000. That's not normal, even for a volcano that breathes. Scientists checked their machines. They looked at the data, and they saw something that made them nervous. The ground wasn't just shaking, it was rising. In some places, the land went up by 15 centimeters in 1 year. That's about 6 inches. It doesn't sound like much. But for the Earth, that's fast. That's very fast. One scientist said, when the ground moves this quickly, it means something is pushing from below. And they knew what it was. Magma. Hot melted rock. Trapped underground, trying to find a way up. The pressure was building, like air filling a balloon. Slowly at first, then faster. Cracks started to appear. Not everywhere, just in certain neighborhoods. Pozzuoli, a town right next to Naples, saw it first. A crack along a wall near the harbor. Then another on a church step. Then a long zigzag line down the middle of a street. An old man who owned a cafe swept dust off his counter every morning. This dust, he said, it comes from the walls. They're breaking apart. The government told people not to worry. They said the volcano was just stretching, just breathing, just doing what it always does. But the people who lived there, they weren't so sure because they could feel it in their bones, in their homes, in the air that smelled faintly of sulfur on certain mornings. Something deep below was waking up, and the Earth's breath. It was getting faster. By spring of 2025, the cracks were everywhere. Not just in Pozzuoli anymore, they spread to Naples, to side streets and main roads, to apartment buildings and schools. Maria's kitchen wall split down the middle. Her neighbor's floor tilted. Another family found their front door wouldn't close anymore because the frame had shifted. People started taking pictures. They posted them online. Hundreds of photos, thousands, all showing the same thing. The city was breaking. One video went viral. It showed a woman standing in her living room. She placed a marble on the floor. The marble rolled across the room by itself. The floor is slanted now, she said to the camera. It wasn't like this last month. The tremors kept coming. Some were so small you could barely feel them. But others? They rattled windows. They knocked picture frames off walls. They woke babies in the middle of the night. And they were getting stronger. Scientists at the INGV, the Italian Volcano Monitoring Center, watched their screens day and night. Lines jumped, numbers flashed. Every tremor left a mark on their seismographs. One scientist, Dr. Falco, said this: "In a normal year, we might see 50 tremors. This year, we've already recorded over 1,500, and it's only May." He looked tired. His team looked tired. They weren't sleeping much either because the data was showing something strange. The pressure underground wasn't going down. It was going up, way up. Dr. Falco explained it this way: imagine a pot of boiling water. The lid rattles, steam escapes. That's what we thought was happening here. The Earth releases pressure through small quakes, then it calms down. He paused. But the pressure isn't dropping. It's building, and that's not normal. Other scientists disagreed. They said the volcano was stable, that Campi Flegrei had been doing this for centuries, that it would settle down soon. "There is no eruption risk," one government official said at a press conference. He smiled. He looked calm. He told people to go about their lives. But in the streets, people didn't feel calm. They felt afraid. Some families started packing bags just in case. Others slept in their cars. They didn't trust their homes anymore. One mother said, "If the government says it's safe, why are the walls cracking? Why does my son wake up crying every time the ground shakes?" Trust was breaking too. Not just the buildings, not just the streets. People stopped believing what they were told. And then, on a Tuesday afternoon, something happened. A tremor hit while a news crew was filming in Pozzuoli. The camera shook. The reporter grabbed a wall. Dust fell from the ceiling. You could hear people shouting in the background. The camera kept rolling. When it stopped, the street was covered in a thin layer of dust. A crack had opened in the pavement. It was 10 centimeters wide. You could see down into the earth. The reporter stood there, breathing hard. She looked into the camera and said, "This is not normal. This is not safe." That clip played on every news channel in Italy, then across Europe, then around the world. People started asking questions. Hard questions. How long until a bigger quake hits? How long until the volcano erupts? Why isn't the government doing more? But no one had answers because the truth was they didn't know. Campi Flegrei was not like other volcanoes. It didn't follow patterns. It didn't give clear warnings. It breathed in and out on its own schedule. And right now, it was breathing faster than anyone had ever seen. Scientists checked the gas coming out of the ground. They tested the air near the fumaroles, the hot vents where steam escapes. The numbers changed. More carbon dioxide, more sulfur, the kind of gases that show up when magma moves closer to the surface. Dr. Falco put it simply: the magma chamber is waking up, and beneath Naples, 2 kilometers down, the pressure kept rising. From above, Pozzuoli looks peaceful. The crater is calm. The water in the bay is blue. Boats drift lazily near the shore. Birds circle overhead. It looks like nothing is wrong, but looks can lie. Beneath that calm surface, the earth is stretching, breaking, heating up. Scientists use satellites to watch the ground. These satellites can measure tiny changes. They can see if the land rises even 1 centimeter. And the satellites showed something alarming. The ground was rising faster than ever. In some spots, it went up 20 centimeters in just a few months. That's almost 8 inches. For a volcano, that's like a giant waking up and stretching its arms. But the government kept saying the same thing. No danger, no evacuation needed. Stay calm. They held press conferences. They showed charts. They used big words like monitoring and acceptable parameters. One official said, "We have the best scientists in the world watching this volcano. If there were real danger, we would tell you." But behind closed doors, the scientists weren't so sure. Some of them were very worried. Dr. Falco's team found something in the data. The gas ratios were changing. More CO2 was coming out of the ground, less sulfur dioxide. That combination meant one thing. Magma was moving, rising, getting closer to the surface. He tried to tell the government. He wrote reports. He sent emails. He asked for meetings. But nothing changed. The official message stayed the same. Everything is fine. In the neighborhoods, people felt differently. They felt betrayed. "They tell us it's safe," one man said, "but my house is falling apart. My family can't sleep. How is that safe?" Another woman said, "We're not stupid. We can feel what's happening." The Earth is telling us something. Why won't they listen? Some families left. They went to stay with relatives in other cities, away from the coast, away from the volcano. But most people stayed, because where else could they go? This was their home, their life, their city. And so they waited. They waited for the shaking to stop, for the cracks to heal, for someone to tell them the truth. But the truth was hard to find, because even the scientists didn't agree. Some said the pressure would release slowly, that the small quakes were helping, that the volcano was venting safely. Others said the pressure was too high, that the magma chamber was becoming brittle, that one big rupture could change everything. One scientist described it this way: think of a soda bottle. You shake it, pressure builds inside. You can open it slowly and let the fizz out little by little, or you can wait too long and it explodes. He paused. We don't know which one this is. And so the waiting continued. The city tried to act normal. Coffee shops stayed open, buses ran, schools held classes, but underneath, the tension grew. Every tremor made people jump. Every crack made them wonder. Every night they went to bed hoping the morning would be quiet. And the volcano, it kept breathing, in, out, but its breaths were getting sharper, faster, like someone running, like someone struggling. The silence above was a lie. Below, the pressure was building, higher and higher. Scientists watched their screens, they checked their sensors, they compared the data to old records from the 1980s, the last time Campi Flegrei acted up, and then they saw it. The pressure had crossed a line they swore would never be crossed again. The numbers on the screen blinked red. Dr. Falco stared at them. His hands shook. We've never seen it this high, he whispered. And deep underground, 2 kilometers below Naples, the magma kept pushing against rock, against pressure, against time. The Earth was holding its breath, but not for much longer. May 28th, 2025, a normal Tuesday morning. People were having breakfast, kids were getting ready for school, the sun was shining, and then the ground moved. Not a small shake, not a gentle tremor, a real earthquake. It started with a deep rumble, like thunder underground. Then the shaking began, walls swayed, floors rolled, glass shattered, car alarms screamed, dogs barked, people ran into the streets. It lasted only 10 seconds. But those 10 seconds changed everything. Maria was in her kitchen when it hit. She grabbed the counter. The floor moved under her feet like water. Plates fell from the shelves and smashed on the ground. A crack shot up the wall so fast she could hear it tearing through the plaster. When it stopped, she stood there shaking. Her ears were ringing. Her heart was pounding. "Mamma mia," she whispered. Outside, the streets filled with people. Everyone came out. They looked at each other with wide eyes. Some were crying. Others were silent. One man stood in the middle of the road, holding his daughter. "It's okay," he kept saying. "It's okay." But it wasn't okay. This was the strongest earthquake Campi Flegrei had produced in 40 years, and everyone felt it, across Naples, across Pozzuoli, even in towns farther away. The shaking lasted 10 seconds, but the fear, that lasted much longer. Phones stopped working, the networks overloaded. Everyone tried to call at once to check on family, to ask what happened, to find out if another quake was coming. Within an hour, videos flooded the internet, shaky footage from phones, security cameras, dash cams, all showing the same thing: buildings swaying, cracks opening, dust clouds rising. One video showed a church. The bell tower moved, not much, just a little, but you could see it. Stones shifted, mortar crumbled. Another video showed a street in Pozzuoli. The pavement split open. You could see down into the ground. Steam rose from the crack. It looked like the earth had opened its mouth. Emergency sirens wailed across the city. Ambulances raced to hospitals. People with cuts from broken glass. People with panic attacks. People who couldn't stop shaking. The government called an emergency meeting. Scientists rushed to check their data. The seismographs showed a massive spike, the biggest they'd seen in decades. Dr. Falco and his team worked through the night. They analyzed the quake. They measured the depth, the magnitude, the aftershocks, and they found something. The pressure underground had spiked. Right before the quake hit, then it dropped just a little. The magma chamber fractured, Dr. Falco said, just slightly, enough to release some pressure. Someone asked, "Is that good?" He shook his head. "I don't know. It could mean the pressure is releasing safely, or it could mean the chamber is breaking. And if it breaks completely..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The next day, something leaked. A government memo, classified, not meant for the public, but someone sent it to the press. The memo said the pressure had exceeded safe levels, that scientists had warned this could happen, that evacuation plans should be reviewed, but none of that had been done. The government had known, and they had said nothing. People were furious. Protests started in Pozzuoli first, then Naples. People held signs. They shouted. They demanded answers. "You lied to us," one woman screamed. "You told us we were safe." The government tried to calm things down. They said the memo was taken out of context, that there was still no immediate danger, but nobody believed them anymore. That night, scientists noticed something new. Thermal cameras pointed at the caldera showed heat rising, more than usual. Fumaroles that had been quiet for years started steaming again. The volcano wasn't sleeping. It wasn't even resting. It was waking up. Dr. Falco sat in his office, staring at the screens. His colleagues stood around him. Nobody spoke. Finally, someone said what they were all thinking. What if another quake hits? A bigger one? Dr. Falco didn't answer, because the truth was he didn't know. Nobody knew. Campi Flegrei wasn't following any pattern. It wasn't doing what textbooks said it should do. It was doing its own thing, and all they could do was watch. The city went to sleep that night under a blanket of fear. Some people slept in their cars. Others stayed with friends in safer neighborhoods. And above them all, the stars came out. Beautiful, peaceful, calm. But beneath the city, 2 kilometers down, the magma kept moving. Slowly, quietly, waiting for the next breath. Weeks passed. The big quake became a memory, but not a distant one, a sharp one. The kind you can't forget. The tremors slowed down. Not completely. They still happened. But less often. Smaller. The government said the worst was over, that the volcano had released tension, that things would go back to normal. They even said people could stop worrying. Some families moved back to their homes. They patched the cracks. They swept up the broken glass. They tried to pretend everything was fine, but deep down they knew it wasn't over. Scientists kept watching the satellites, and the satellites didn't lie. The ground was still rising, slower now, but still rising. The pressure hadn't dropped. Not really. The quake had released just a tiny bit, like opening a valve for 1 second, then closing it again. Dr. Falco looked at the data every morning. The same question ran through his mind. How long? How long until the next quake? How long until the pressure builds again? How long until something bigger happens? He didn't have answers. Nobody did, because Campi Flegrei isn't like other volcanoes. It doesn't erupt in predictable ways. It can sleep for centuries, then wake up suddenly. Or it can breathe like this for years, maybe decades, without ever erupting. The problem is, you don't know which one it will do. And so the people of Naples live with uncertainty. They wake up each morning and wonder, will today be the day? They go to work. They send their kids to school. They drink coffee at their favorite cafes, but they listen, always listening for the rumble, for the shake, for the sound of the earth breathing too fast. Maria still lives in her apartment. The crack in her kitchen wall is still there. She tried to fix it once, filled it with plaster, painted over it. A week later, it opened again. Now, she just leaves it. It reminds me, she says, that this is temporary, that everything here is temporary. She's not wrong. Naples has stood for thousands of years, but Campi Flegrei is older, much older, and it will still be here long after the city is gone. That's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. This volcano has erupted before. Big eruptions, ones that covered entire regions in ash, ones that changed the climate, ones that made the sky go dark. The last super eruption was 40,000 years ago. Will it happen again? Maybe, maybe not, but it could. And that possibility hangs over Naples like a cloud. Some people choose not to think about it. They say, if it happens, it happens. We can't control it. Others can't stop thinking about it. They check the news every day. They follow scientists on social media. They track every tremor, every gas reading, every change in the data. And the scientists, they keep working. They keep watching, measuring, analyzing, because even if they can't stop an eruption, they can try to predict it. They can give people warning, hours, maybe days, and that could save lives. But right now, all they can do is wait. Wait for the next breath, wait for the next crack, wait for the moment when the Earth decides what it wants to do. The city goes on, buses run, markets open, children play in the parks, life continues because it has to. But underneath, the clock is ticking, not a normal clock, a geological clock, one that measures time in centuries, not seconds. And nobody knows when it will stop. At night, if you stand on the shore and look out over the bay, you can see the lights of Naples. Thousands of them, glowing, warm, beautiful. It looks peaceful. But deep below those lights, 2 kilometers down, the magma waits. Patient, endless, breathing in, breathing out. And one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe in 100 years, the Earth will take one more breath. And this time, it might not let it go.